Nano Machine. Bai, Ang Hong Guolya. Chapter 195. Guest from the Yulin Clan. Part 1. The appointment of the heir was followed by the coronation ceremony in front of every cultist at the courtyard front of the Lord's palace. But with more serious problems at hand, Chun Yowan's ceremonial was postponed to later dates. And while empty spots were filled, Yowan was told to also become the elder. Unlike the heir, being an elder allowed Yowan to enter the elders' meeting where all important works were being taken care of, so it was actually a good thing. For elders from 4 clans objected as they wanted to stop this from happening, but the Lord pushed it through. They then moved on to the next issue, but Yowan wasn't allowed to participate from then on. Crown Prince, you must go look after your wound. People saw Yowan being struck on by Mu Jinwen's force chi, so the Lord told him to go down to the medical room. His bloody clothes looked like he had taken a serious wound. My prince, it should be better for you to look after your wound. We will tell you what had been talked about here later. Other elders sent telepathic messages to Yowan, offering him to look after the wound. I guess I have no choice then. His wounds were healed a long time ago by Nano, but he couldn't reveal this, so he decided to exit from the Great Hall. Thank you, Lord, for your mercy. Yowan then got out of the building and walked out of the Lord's palace. There was a medical room that the demon Dr. Baek Jongwoo stayed at within the palace, but Yowan didn't have any wound on him, so he didn't need to visit medical room. Yowan then got out and went to the restaurant where his members were waiting. Everyone was surprised to see Yowan get out early when they expected him to come out much later, as it was a great hall meeting. Then they saw Yowan in blood and got more shocked. Be blood? Prince? Are you okay? Master? What happened? Chun Yowan told them he will tell them once they get to the Ghost Illusion clan's mansion. And when they returned, Yowan was going to tell them what had happened at the Great Hall, but something else happened. It was something that Yowan had been waiting. Prince Chun. Guard Jang woke up. A servant who was taking care of Guard Jang ran out and told Yowan. And when he heard this, Yowan ran into the room where Guard Jang was at. Guard Jang was on the bed, in sitting position. Guard Jang. With Yowan's shaking voice, Guard Jang turned. He was in bad shape and had lost all of his teeth, but he was the man that Yowan missed so much. Points. Guard Jang. Yowan ran up to him and hugged him tightly. He was smaller than Guard Jang before he entered the academy, but Yowan was now much larger. You have begrown. Guard Jang shed tears from his eyes. Chun Yowan was like his own son. Even when he went through severe tortures, he stayed quiet so he could not be a burden to Yowan and committed suicide many times. He thought he was going to die, but looking at Chun Yowan like this made him feel glad. Yowan then got up and brought chair next to the bed and sat down. Jang smiled and spoke. Would you have grown so much? I think you do not know me anymore. He couldn't pronunciate correctly as his teeth were missing, but it was enough to understand what he wanted to say. No, you have to be with me. Don't say that. I can't protect you anymore, points. Guard Jang spoke and Yowan felt his heart ache. He had killed Lady Mu and even the leader of the Wise clan and avenged, but Guard Jang had lost so much. His internal energy was destroyed and all of his teeth were pulled out, so he couldn't even chew any food. Is there any way to help him? He wanted to help Guard Jang in any way he can. Guard Jang had sacrificed his life for Yowan and needed to be repaid for his sacrifice. But Yowan had never heard of destroyed internal energy returning. Nano, is there a way to restore internal energy? If you are talking about the energy formation that formed beneath your stomach, then that will need further analysis. Nano was still analyzing internal energy, but it didn't consider when internal energy was destroyed, so it required more analysis. Yeah, I suppose. Work on it. Yes, Master. It wasn't sure if it will work, but Nano was the only hope. And Nano's voice came through Yowan, who was disappointed. But there is a way to replace his teeth. What? By using implant or denture, his teeth can be replaced artificially. I will transfer the data. With that, Yowan received information about implant and denture into his brain. Yowan became glad. Internal damage might be hard, but at least there was a way to replace missing teeth. But this seemed it required skilled artisan like Oh Sunong and the Dr. Baek Jongming's help to achieve. But I have to do it. Yowan decided he will visit them when time allows. Yowan also thought that it was a good opportunity, as he wanted to tell Guard Jang first that he had become the heir. Guard Jang. I have something to tell you. Yesh, points. When Yowan said this, Guard Jang knew that it was when Yowan wanted to show off something that he did, so he smiled. I have won in the airship competition in the Demonic Academy. Huh? Guard Jang became shocked at unexpected words. Yulin spoke again. I won in the competition, and was appointed as the crown prince today. See crown prince? Ish that crow? Are you really, UUGH? Guard Jang. Guard Jang was so surprised that he grabbed on his heart and panted, and passed out. Guard Jang. Entity passed out from lack of blood pressure going into the brain. Common symptom of entity being in great shock. Yulin then learned that a person could pass out if he was shocked, even if it was good news. Guard Jang was in a state where he still needed more rest. Chapter 196. Guest from the Yulin Clan. Part 2. And after about 2 hours, Huani returned to the mansion. But there was another elder, In Mohan Sama E, who came to congratulate Yulin on becoming the heir. Congratulations, Prince, on becoming the heir to the throne. Wait, what? Yulin's members became dumbfounded. They couldn't hear anything from Yulin yet, as Yulin had to jump into Guard Jang's room when they got here. Huh? You didn't know yet? Huani asked back, and members all shouted. Prince, why didn't you tell us earlier? Master is the heir now. Mun Ku looked happy, and Hu Bong almost became teary. Ko Wonger and Sama Chuk also got excited. And Master? Congratulations. Oh, I mean Crown Prince. Do we have to call you that now? Sama Chuk? Of course we have to address him like that. Ha 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 ha. Members became frantic, and Yulin shook his head as he smiled and spoke to them. Just call me Master as you always did. Everyone was glad. Their master had now become the heir and official crown prince of the demonic cult. They thought this might take some time, but it was done much quicker than imagined. Master, we should open a feast. Hu Bong shouted, and Huani smiled. Yes, that is a good idea, but we should postpone it. Why? Because Crown Prince and I need to go to the Hall of Feast at Lord's Palace by dinner time. We have a dinner party with guests from Yulin Clan. What do you mean? Yulin asked back confusingly. It seemed this was related to what had been decided in the Great Hall meeting. Oh, yes. I guess I have to tell you about what we talked about in the Great Hall. Are we allying with Yulin Clan? Yulin asked, and Huani nodded. Yes, the alliance is now officially in effect. Alliance with the forces of justice? Yulin's members all became surprised at the unexpected news. This kind of decision required more than 70% of elder and clan leaders' approval, as Yulin Clan was still an enemy of the cult. Then this means, with war that waged over hundreds of years, the hatred within each clan of the cult was not light. But even then, more than 70% of clan leaders agreed with the alliance, meaning there was something more grave that was happening. Why did it come to this? We have no other way but to ally with them. So, there's something happening out there? Yes, my prince. Andwi Castle and Jurkang Castle had fallen. Andwi was owned by the Yulin Clan, and Jurkang was controlled by the demonic cult. Losing these two places were not something to be considered lightly. Are we against forces of evil? No. We are against someone entirely new. A mere clan. A clan? Yulin became surprised. Demonic cult was a group comprised of many clans, but a mere clan fighting against forces at such size seemed like it was impossible. What kind of clan can do that? They call themselves Blade God's Six Martial Clan. Blade God's Six Martial Clan? Yulin did not heard of the name, but frowned at the familiar name. The name of the clan reminded him of Blade God, with some of the most powerful warriors back 500 years ago. Is it a coincidence? Yulin thought while Huani continued. There was 9 forces of demonic cult at Jurkang Castle, and there were 15 clans from forces of justice in Anhui Castle. The number of demonic cult's forces within Jurkang Castle were powerful, but Anhui Castle was under the jurisdiction of the Namkung clan, having Namkung Shan, one of 17 leaders of the forces of justice, as its leader, that no one thought it was possible to attack the place. These two castles were where borders of 3 forces met, so there were a lot of battles and warriors always stood on guards. We recently heard that 3 of Jurkang Castle's forces were attacked by some clan we have seen for the first time. After being attacked, demonic cult thought maybe it was invasion from Yulin Clan, and sent a message to 2 forces in Kongsu Castle, and remaining 6 forces in Jurkang Castle to help the forces that were under attack. One force had 500 warriors, so it was a total of 4,000 warriors. But after 2 weeks, we have lost contact with Jurkang Castle. This meant that every cultist within Jurkang Castle was wiped out. This was too fast for a castle to be fallen under the enemy, so the cult readied for the war. They thought that Yulin Clan was behind this and had figured the war that had not been waged for quite some time had started again. That's when Yulin Clan had sent ambassadors to the castle of the demonic cult. We were thinking of executing them and send their heads back to their cult, but what we heard was shocking. They told that Anhui Castle was also taken, and Nam Kung Shan was killed in the process. The Yulin clan also thought it was work of the demonic cult and was readying for war. But they always required to find evidence, so they sent ambassadors to raise a complaint. So, that's how we knew. Yes. Thanks to their procedure, we were able to find out that it was actually another group that attacked us. They first thought it was from forces of evil, but their bases were too far ahead, so it wasn't likely. So, we offered the Yulin clan. Both groups signed a peace treaty until they take back Anhui and Jurkang Castle. And soon after, another group of ambassadors came to the castle. It was the first time ambassadors from Yulin clan had entered the castle, so every cultist were shocked. Ambassadors brought the offer decided from Yulin clan's meeting, and the lord and leaders agreed to the offer and gathered up a group and left. So, the trip was to take back both regions? Yes. It was to ambush those two castles before the enemy readies its defensive lines and take back. Demonic cult and the Yulin clan both picked out their finest warriors and kept it as a secret to ambush on both castles at once. And the result was? And we failed. They knew the enemy was only one group, so with the combined force of Yulin and demonic cult we'll able them to take back the castle. But they were countered and had to retreat. The Lord and Elder's wounds were proof of it. 7th Elder was killed in the process. It was a secret mission, so the rumor did not spread throughout the Jianghu, but it was still a shame. Well, he didn't tell us how they lost in the meeting. It was a loss, so there was no need to go into detail on shame. It seemed Yulin clan also lost taking back their Anhui castle and was wounded severely. So, that's where alliance comes up. Yes. We have the common enemy. Two forces then gathered to have an emergency meeting and came to an alliance. Birth of an enemy that two forces cannot handle made them come in peace. If this was told to the forces of evil, it was sure that they will try to do something with this as a chance. We need to deal with the new enemy through this alliance. And if this alliance is known officially, forces of evil will not try to do anything funny. There were two purposes for this alliance. First was to fight the Blade God's 6 martial clan, and the second was to stop forces of evil from meddling in on the matter. Blade God 6 martial. Yuan couldn't shake off the name after he heard the name from Huan Yi. Chapter 197. Guest from the Yulin Clan. Part 3. At the same time, at Guardian Building right next to the Lord's residence in Lord's Palace. Great Guardian Mara Kim was talking with Left Guardian Li Hamming in the office located on the 4th floor of the building. So, that's how it happened. If that is true, then Crown Prince is the one we've been waiting for. Mara Kim answered to Humming's story. If Yuan had learned the sword force of the Sky Demon and also learned 24 Demon Sword, then he was the real successor of Sword Demon that Guardians had been waiting for. What's going on? But Great Guardian didn't seem all that excited, so Li Hamming thought something was off. Great Guardian always had a mask on and didn't speak much, but this wasn't what Hamming expected. Great Guardian. Is there any problem? No. There is something more serious. Mara Kim then changed the subject. What is that? Blade God 6 martial clan. Li Hamming frowned. This was a problem for the entire demonic cult. They allied with Yulin Clan to deal with this, so it wasn't something for them to talk about. Don't you see any oddity in this? Are you talking about the name? Li Hamming too felt strange about the name. But that was too much to think that the clan had a direct connection to the Blade God himself. And it had been 500 years since the Blade God appeared. It wasn't revealed at the great meeting, but there was a warrior from their clan who cut Elder Hang's arm off and took Subming's eye. Alone? Li Hamming became surprised. If that was true, the warrior was more powerful than they can imagine. Mara Kim shook his head and spoke. There wasn't just one. Then? There were 3. Lord and his warriors from the cult clashed against warriors from Blade God's 6 martial clan. It was kept as a secret, but these clan hid on the way and ambushed the cult instead. They outnumbered us and ambushed, but we were also one of the strongest from our cult. The cult reacted quickly and began to fight, and soon, 3 powerful warriors from Blade God's 6 martial clan appeared. They massacred through squad leaders and masters of the cult easily, making elders to fight against them. First, one elder tried to fight one of another warrior, but they couldn't fight alone, so 2 elders joined. They were warriors who used sword, staff, and claw. Superior master-level warriors fought together to deal with them, but these enemies had much different martial art. Their martial art had severe burden on the body. 3 warriors had special muscles in their bodies that were developed to use the unique martial art. After 7th Elder Kong Sunong died, and Hang Soya's arm were cut off, situation turned. 2 elders combined were almost equal, but the balance tipped off to the warriors, and elders who were left alone became injured. And when it got out of control, the Lord and Great Guardian also joined in the fight. Great Guardian fought against a warrior who used a sword alone, and learned something while fighting him. I didn't know when I saw ones that used claw or staff, but I realized when I fought the one who used the sword. Their martial arts are derived from one root. You mean? Marakim got up and took off his shirt. On his body, there were scars of sword marks that were left like if it stormed around Marakim. But these were like slashed attacks that would be made from a blade. This. The tracing was very similar to the blade god's blade skill that Chun Yoan had used. Marakim quickly jumped back by using his wind god walking skill, but he still was injured. Marakim spoke. If that man could have used this formation with a blade, I would have ended up like the first elder. At dinner hour, every clan leaders had gathered at the hall of feast with clean, formal clothing to greet the guest. The hall was filled with music, and there were many tables each filled with cuisines and liquors. On the stage where top leaders from both sides were allocated, a long table was left. Yoan didn't look comfortable, however. I don't like this seat. He was sitting very close to the Lord. He was now a crown prince, number 2 rank within the cult. At least the Lord was in his own, so Yoan did not look him across the table. The guests have not arrived yet, so everyone waited. And soon, guards that stood at the gate shouted, "Guests have arrived!" And the gate to the hall was opened and guests from Yulin Clan entered. The first 40 people had black clothes with orange sashes. They were from the Flower Mountain Clan. One in the front was a large man with a long beard, the leader of Flower Mountain Clan, and one of 17 leaders of Forces of Justice, Peng Chungwon. They are different. Yoan had seen Forces of Justice for first time, if not counting criminals that he saw in the academy. If cultists were mostly cold and aggressive, these men walked straight and seemed to value honor. And those who walked behind had white clothes with blue swirls. They were from Moyang family. The one who had a short beard was Moyang Kong, the leader of the Moyang family and another leader of 17 leaders. They looked a bit arrogant compared to the Flower Mountain Clan. And to the back of them, there was a woman wearing teal-colored, lavish cloth and grey veil over her head. But she didn't look like she was from the Moyang family. Who's that? Guards that stood beside her too had different clothes. Moyang Kong glanced around and whispered to her, and she nodded and walked past the group and members from Flower Mountain Clan and got up to the front. She then bowed and spoke to the Lord, Chun Yujong. On behalf of the Yulin Clan, I thank you for your hospitality, Lord of the demonic cult. With her words, all members from Yulin Clan all bowed. They were allies, but they couldn't do more than this to demonic cult, who were their long foe. Chun Yujong then stayed on his seat and spoke. I welcome valuable guests from Yulin Clan to our castle. It was a greeting, but the Lord didn't even show the slightest formal gesture, so people from the Yulin Clan became uncomfortable. But they soon heard why Chun Yujong did that. I thought Forces of Justice honor and respect. Was it a false rumor? Why are you saying that? How can a person representing the entire Yulin Clan hide her face in front of her host? Oh, my apologies. I have made a mistake from being anxious about meeting with you. The woman then quickly pulled up the veil over her face. Everyone became astonished. Chapter 198. Guest from the Yulin Clan. Part 4. It was beauty beyond imagination that was like a flower on a cliff. Her smooth silky skin and soft line over her beautiful eyes were astounding. Almost every man in the hall looked at her, mesmerized by her beauty. One of the guards who stood by her then clapped once. Men came back to their senses and looked away embarrassingly. It looked like some of the ones from the Yulin Clan were proud of her beauty. Yoan, however, looked weirdly. He didn't know who these people were as he wasn't familiar with members of Yulin, but most clan leaders or elders knew who this woman was. The mole under her left eye proved who she was. Lord Chun Yujong praised of her beauty. I heard leader of Yulin has 2 treasures. It is good to see one of them, strategist Jiggle, most beautiful woman of Forces of Justice. Thank you for the compliment, Lord Chun. She was one of 3 beauties of the Jianghu and the second strategist of Yulin, Jiggle Sohee. She was the lover of the first son of the Yulin clan, Yun Buso, and was famous for being a talented strategist. But she was most known for her beauty. This is the most beautiful woman in the Jianghu. Moyang Yu, son of Moyang Kong, heir of the family, became proud. And others from Moyang family also seemed similarly proud. Foolish cultists, look at them lusting over a beautiful woman. Unlike members of Flower Mountain Clan who valued on holding back their emotion, the Moyang family members had been looking down upon the demonic cult. This showed on their faces. I don't like their faces. I heard Moyangs are arrogant, so it's true. It was a party to celebrate the alliance, but clan leaders shook their heads at the sight of the Moyang family. This party could be more dangerous than it was. Currently, these were two groups who were at war against each other for hundreds of years. There was no way they will befriend each other easily. I will punish all those who might harm the alliance. The Lord warned to all clan leaders before the party started. Even those in the Yulin clan, 2 leaders warned their members. Small argument might lead to a fight, so be wary. They will try hard to stay away from any potential problem that might cause harm to the alliance, but it wasn't sure what might happen when they start drinking. Jigal Sohee bowed to greet. Second strategist of Yulin. Jigal Sohee sends her deepest apologies. Please excuse my rudeness. Chun Yujong then got up from his seat and bowed at her and people of Yulin clan. Your leader has sent a very important person here. I thank you for your hospitality. Welcome to demonic cult. With the Lord bowing, every cultist in the hall bowed. Peng Chungwan then laughed and bowed at Chun Yujong. Thank you, Lord Chun. We are very hungry, so why don't we start eating? I wouldn't want these great foods to go lukewarm. Peng Chungwan, eldest leader in the Yulin clan's group, spoke jokingly and the atmosphere lightened. You are right, Elder Peng. Let's begin the feast. Yes, my lord. Beautiful servants who was standing by the yard got in and began guiding leaders of Yulin clans to their seats. Warriors then found open seats on round table placed on the hall. And when everyone sat down, musicians began to play music again. It was beginning of the feast. On the stage, leaders began to introduce themselves against each other. I am 11th Elder Huan Yi. Starting with lowest ranking Elder Huan Yi, all elders introduced their ranks and name. And when almost every elders finished their introduction, people from Yulin clan became curious about young man who was still standing down. I heard about all of others that introduced. But who is that young man? Peng Si Hungwan had lived for long time in Yulin, that he knew most members from demonic cult and forces of evil, but he never heard of young man at the cult's leadership. That's when the young man stood up last and bowed. I am Crown Prince and 12th Elder, Chun Yowan. Greetings, guests from Yulin clan. Crown Prince. Every leader from the Yulin clan was shocked. They heard that there were no Crown Prince yet, but there it was. And the man said he is also 12th Elder. He is also an elder at the same time? Oh, by the way, I don't see Beko the Poison Man, and Mu Jinwan the Dual Demon Sword. Beko and Mu Jinwan was infamous among forces of justice. Peng Chungwan, who had shared the same generation with them, became confused. There were no need for member of Yulin clan to know death of these 2 elders, so they weren't notified. So, he's Crown Prince of the demonic cult? Moyang Yu looked at Yowan. This meant that Chun Yowan was the enemy that Moyang Yu will face in the future, as they were same generation. He looked strong. He couldn't even guess at how powerful Yowan might be. He too was at super master level, and was called talented, but Chun Yowan was whole another level. Demonic cult was known for giving ranks depending on the power, so if Yowan was also an elder, then it proved he was a powerful warrior. It reminds me of him. Seeing Yowan reminded him of the monster in the forces of justice, Yun Buso. Yun Buso had graduated White Academy that trained warriors, faster than anyone, and is now being told that he will be future of the Yulin clan. Damn it. I should focus on training myself. Moyang Yu realized of his current state. And Moyang Kong grinned as he looked at his son being hurt on his pride. He realized that his son had been motivated by Crown Prince, who can become the future enemy. It's good that I brought him here. But he also knew that it was quite dangerous. He couldn't even see how powerful this Crown Prince was. So, this is the demonic cult. Demonic cult was known for choosing the heir to the throne depending on the power, so it was understandable why Crown Prince was that much of a monster. After introducing with each other, the Lord congratulated the alliance and the feast began. The feast then soon turned into a drinking party and began to become noisy. Chapter 199. Guest from the Yulin Clan. Part 5. Ha ha ha. Strategist Jigal is famous for being flower of the Yulin Clan. I see that it was true. I'm embarrassed. Jigal is our pride. Ha ha ha. Jigal Sohee was of course, the one who drew the most attention. Her beauty was enough to gain attention from all men of all ages and groups. But not all of them were only interested in her beauty. There was one who was looking at the situation carefully. The eye then seemed uncomfortable. Elders are not enough. He then saw one man, drinking the liquor, uninterested in Jigal Sohee. He should do. The man then clicked her glass at the small porcelain bottle that contained liquor. It was a noisy party, so no one paid attention to him, but when the sound of glass rang, Jigul Sohee's eye turned dumbfounded and looked around. Then she got up and walked up to Chun Yowan. What is this? Unlike other elders, Hwani and In Moha, who were sitting by Chun Yowan and talking, became surprised. Jigul Sohee then spoke to In Moha, who was sitting right side of Yowan. Elder In Moha, would you excuse me for a second? She was asking In Moha to move aside. It surprised people around, as it was very rude to ask such a thing, but In Moha moved away without any word. In Moha did not want to create any hassle with members of the Yulin clan, and from Jigul Sohee's reddened face, she looked a bit drunk. Is she not controlling the alcohol through internal energy? Yowan became surprised. Everyone from both demonic cult and kept their soberness by controlling internal energy, but Jigul Sohee seemed she was drunk. With Jigul Sohee, the flower of tonight's party, sitting down next to Yowan, everyone's attention gathered. Ugh. Chun Yowan became uncomfortable as unwanted attention drew at them. He didn't mention it, but he wished she would move to other seats and talk with the other elders. But Jigul Sohee's next action drew even more attention and jealousy over men. Crown Prince sir, you are really handsome. Huh? Jigul Sohee began trying to flirt with Yowan. Her confident and well-mannered self had disappeared. With her acting in such way, Moyangyu was first to become angered. What? What is she doing? Jigul Sohee was in a relationship with Yun Buso, the eldest son of the Yulin clan's leader, but Moyangyu was also secretly in love with her, so he became dumbfounded. Don't you like me? Jigul Sohee tried to grab Yowan's wrist with her beautiful hands, and Yowan thought she was drunk and tried to avoid. But Jigul Sohee got closer by pushing herself right next to Yowan. Yowan became frustrated at being flirted by a woman for first time in his life. Ugh, this is frustrating. Yowan was able to see that she was flirting. But this was a party to congratulate the alliance, and with both of them on different groups, he couldn't understand this. Something's wrong. Yowan then looked at Jigul Sohee's face. Chun Yowan then became weird, not stopping her anymore, and the man who was watching thought this was the chance. Let's get him now. He then rang the glass 2 times. Jigul Sohee then suddenly took the chopstick on the table and thrust toward Yowan's chest. Huh? Leaders from Yulin clan became shocked at sudden move. It was an ambush, but Chun Yowan wasn't someone to be attacked as such. Ugh. He snapped on her wrist to make her drop the chopstick. But Jigul Sohee pulled up internal energy and thrust it on Yowan's stomach. Yowan backed up to dodge, but Jigul Sohee jumped up to him and continued on the attack. And with such an attack, Yowan had to attack back. Ugh. And what Yowan did next shocked everyone in the hall. Yowan reached out with his right hand and grabbed her pretty face with his hand. Arg. He grabbed so hard that she grabbed on Yowan's wrist and moaned in pain. She was the one who attacked first, but it seemed like it was too much. See, Crown Prince. Pung Chungwon was shocked and did not know what to do. Everyone here saw Jigul Sohee attack the prince first. How dare she attack our Crown Prince? What is the point of this? Ugh. Hwani shouted angrily, and leaders of Yulin clan frowned. It was now 2 groups siding against each other. There we go. The man thought it was now just short of a shout to turn this feast into chaos. Kyo Wargurg. That's when Jigul Sohee trembled in Yowan's hand as she writhed. She then fell silent and energyless. What are you doing, Crown Prince? Jakinking shouted with shock. Jigul Sohee had done something she should have not, but it was necessary to ask her why she did it first. It's going well. The man smiled. The situation was going in more worse. He didn't need to even scream. It was then. NNNGH. Jigul Sohee got up with a moan. Yowan let go of her with his grab and she dropped to the ground and shook her head. She then looked up and asked with a confused look. What is going on here? Did I drink too much? Jigul Sohee didn't seem to know what she just had done. The man who was watching became shocked. What? Why is the hypnosis went off? He then heard the telepathic message. Move to the second plan. Why yes, brother. The man then tapped on glass 3 times. With the sound, Moyangyu, who were helping Jigul Sohee to stand with a concerned look, suddenly turned weird and charged at Chun Yowan. How dare you attack Miss Jigul? There was no need to have this happen twice. Hwani and In Moha blocked him quickly and pinned him down on the ground. The young girl has made us look like fools, I see. Arg. Let me go. Let me. In Moha snapped on Moyangyu's neck and make him pass out. Damn it. This is a failure. He had to make a problem, but Moyangyu was easily overpowered, so the man grimaced. He had to move on to the third plan. There's no choice. Brother. We should move to the third plan. It was when he was sending a telepathic message that someone jumped up to him and grabbed his neck. It was Chun Yo-won. See, Crown Prince? What are you doing? He's. Everyone was shocked by Chun Yo-won's sudden action. The man that Yo-won grabbed by the neck and pushed up was one of the guards that guarded Jegal Sohee. Arg. Why are you doing this? The guard looked down at Chun Yo-won with a painful look and Yo-won spoke coldly. Do you think I wouldn't find you? He felt his heart sink. How did he know that he was behind everything? But he had to lie. Kek. I don't know what you are talking about. Don't even try to lie. Arg. The clench became stronger and the man felt like his neck bone will break even with slightest of more power. He became painful as Yo-won asked with a heavy voice. What is your third plan? The guard's eyes turned wide with shock.